I'm State Senator Michelle Brooks, and I represent Crawford and Mercer counties, as well as parts of Warren and Erie counties, including Corry and Edinburgh. It is such a pleasure for me to welcome each one of you to the state panel for the 2021 Youth Civic Engagement Symposium. I would like to thank Senator Pat Toomey for sponsoring today's event and giving everyone an opportunity to engage firsthand with representatives from the three layers of your government: federal, state, and local. Here at the state level, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has three branches of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. The legislative branch consists of an elected 50-member Senate, of which I serve, and an elected 203-member House of Representatives. The judicial branch includes elected judges, and the executive branch is led by an elected governor and an appointed cabinet, which is confirmed by the Senate. Several of my colleagues from these branches are joining you today to discuss their roles in state government, including the House of Representatives, PennDOT, Presque Isle State Park, and the Department of Community and Economic Development. When I'm at the state capitol, much of my work consists of drafting legislation, chairing the Health and Human Services Committee, as well as serving on my other committee assignments, which include Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness, Education, Rules and Executive Nominations, Finance, Communication and Technology, and Agricultural and Rural Affairs. In addition, there's a significant amount of time spent debating on what the state budget should look like, which this year was approximately $40.8 billion, or even presenting an honorary citation to a state championship team from my legislative district. Here at home in the district, my staff and I work to help people cut through government bureaucracy, partner with local folks on economic development, resolve PennDOT problems, assist with processing state paperwork like driver's license forms and car registration forms, and items related to state taxes and licenses, such as those required for nurses, teachers, doctors, even hairstylists, to name a few. We believe government needs to be accessible and open and responsible to the citizens of the 50th District and all of Pennsylvania. Each day of my job is never dull, always changing and always rewarding. One of my greatest pleasures is honoring local constituents, whether it's an Eagle Scout achievement, a Girl Scout Golden Award, a 100th birthday, or a 50th anniversary. Again, thank you for joining us today. And if you would ever like the fun tour of the state capitol, give my office a call. May your experience today be engaging and insightful.
Thank you, Senator Michelle Brooks. Hello, my name is Sheila Starrett, and I am the Western PA Director for U.S. Senator Pat Toomey. Today's Youth Civic Engagement Symposium topic will focus on the importance of state government. The government of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is structured by the Constitution. The three branches of government within Pennsylvania are the executive branch, which is led by the governor and the lieutenant governor, the legislative branch, which is led by the General Assembly, consisting of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and the judiciary branch, which is led by the Supreme Court, which is the highest appellate court. More than 115,000 people are employed with the state government in various positions, working with agencies that provide services to the residents, including the Department of Revenue, Education, State Parks, and PennDOT. Today, I am joined by four panelists that work for the state government. They will provide you some information about their jobs and their duties on a day-to-day basis. First, I'd like to introduce Barb Raymond.
Hello, thank you, Sheila. My name is Barb Raymond. I am the Director of the Bureau of Veterans Homes. I work for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and my agency is the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Department of Military and Veterans Affairs covers our military side as well as the veterans of Pennsylvania. I am an RN by background as well as a nursing home administrator. I formerly was running the Pennsylvania Soldiers and Sailors Home locally here in Erie, Pennsylvania, where we take care of veterans and their spouses. Being an RN by background certainly helps in that role as well, serving our veteran and Erie County community.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Sean Pierce.
Thank you, Sheila. My name is Sean Pierce. I'm a trooper with the Pennsylvania State Police. I've been in that capacity for the last 18 years. I'm currently stationed out of Troop E Erie headquarters, and I have been so for my entire career. The Pennsylvania State Police is represented by 16 troops without the Commonwealth, and we are responsible for the jurisdictions that aren't covered by local municipalities. Ultimately, my background is I'm a prior active duty military, and I went into the civilian world for a little bit prior to coming on the job as a Pennsylvania State Trooper.
Thank you. And Christine Gregg.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm Christine Gregg, and I work with State Representative Park Wentling. We cover parts of 4 counties, West Erie County, which is Girard, Lake City area, Albion, and also parts of Crawford County, the western side of the county, and then also some parts of Mercer County and the northern part of Lawrence County. So we have a broad district. It is the 17th legislative district for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
And Janet Anderson.
Thank you, Sheila. I am Janet Anderson, Executive Director of Northwest Pennsylvania Job Connect. We are the local public workforce development board covering 6 counties in Northwest Pennsylvania. I was hired 6.5 years ago into that role. Prior to that, I came through government and quasi-governmental positions, primarily in economic development, but have had 2 opportunities to work in Harrisburg in the Department of Community and Economic Development, as well as the Department of Labor and Industry.
Great. And the first question we're going to go with Barb Raymond. What is the Soldiers and Sailors Home? What is your role there? And how do you feel the needs of the veterans in that area?
Yep. So the Soldiers and Sailors Home is a long-term care facility. We take care of nursing home residents. We have a capacity for 107 veterans and spouses in the nursing home side. We also take care of dementia residents, folks that may have a little bit of memory care issues and some concerns caring for themselves. We also have a personal care and domiciliary facility where those veterans and those residents and spouses, they can take care of themselves from a standpoint of their bathing and their dressing and their eating, but they just may need a little bit more support for their medication management and assistance with their finances. The facility is overall a nursing home entity, and we take care of the veterans and the spouses. The types of employees that we're looking for range anywhere from housekeeping staff to maintenance staff and engineering staff. From a nursing perspective, of course, our LPNs, our registered nurses, our certified nursing assistants. We also need administrative support to care for these veterans and spouses. Anything from clerical support to accounting support to purchasing and revenue. It is a very, very robust industry in our community here, as well as throughout the entire Commonwealth. I take care of the 6 state veterans homes located throughout Pennsylvania. So we do have facilities located in Pittsburgh as well as Altoona in the center of the state, 2 areas in Philadelphia, as well as up in our Scranton in the northeast corner of the Commonwealth. So if any of our students are looking to relocate, there's certainly options throughout the entire Commonwealth for any of those various areas.
And running a veteran home with special services is different than from running maybe a more traditional senior living facility. What kind of facility What's so special about this facility, and what have you found most rewarding about your job?
So that's an easy one. Most rewarding is definitely giving back to those veterans. I actually have two children that are currently serving the United States. I have a U.S. Marine as well as a sailor with the U.S. Navy. So to give back to our community and to our veterans, that's by far the most rewarding area. And taking care of them, where it's a little bit different. Primarily, a traditional nursing home has primarily females. We have primarily males. So we end up with a little bit more challenges in that respect. But certainly something that is, it's just very rewarding. I mean, there's really no other words for it.
And when you're looking for some of the positions that you are going to be hiring for, can you give us some examples of them? And what type of skills sets are you looking from those?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we take care of everything in the facility. So we have dietary workers. Where that skill set is somebody who is really interested in serving the veterans and the residents from a food perspective. Somebody that's creative with chefs and that sort of thing. That is a wonderful addition to our facility. We have, if anybody is looking to become a dietitian, the dietitian will take care of the veterans, making sure that they are well engaged with their food, making sure that they're not losing weight. Nursing, we have nursing assistants where you have to go through some courses to cover that. RNs and LPNs, as well as housekeeping, and the housekeeping staff, again, somebody who's just really looking forward to working with those veterans, keeping their environment clean. That's a very important part.
Okay, great, thank you. And Sean Pierce, you work as a PA State Trooper. The PSP employs roughly around 4,700 employees. What are some of the more important skills of a state police officer? And if I was interested in becoming a state police officer, what do I need to have, and what is my best chances to get hired?
Again, I've been a Pennsylvania State Trooper for 18 years. Prior to becoming a trooper, you have to go through a 6-month academy at Hershey, regardless of your background and experience in life. And then at that point, you'll be assigned as a patrol trooper through one of the various troops within the Commonwealth. I think the biggest skill set is communication. And in my 18 years, I've done thousands of interviews. And with that being said, you're going to talk to various peoples with various ages. You can talk to young children all the way up to adults, and you have to be able to communicate to those people. And you're also going to deal with a lot of people with just different walks of life from where you come from, and you have to be able to relate to that. You have to remove yourself from the situation. You have to be personable. You have to be approachable, and you have to show empathy, because sometimes the one time they call for the Pennsylvania State Police, that might be the only time they call for the Pennsylvania State Police, and you have to put on a professional appearance, and you have to do what's best for that person at that time in their life, because more than likely they're going through a tragic situation, and you have to adapt to them, because unfortunately you could show up to several incidents with the same possible outcome, but the thing you have to factor in is the human factor. You're going to have to deal with people who might not necessarily have grown up the same way you have, and you have to relate to that. As far as becoming a Pennsylvania State Trooper, the only thing I can suggest, especially because as a criminal investigator for 12 years, we are also responsible for performing the cadet backgrounds, and that is almost the final stage after several other stages within the hiring process that you have to go through. And back when I was in school, we didn't have social media, we did not have smartphones, and we did not have cell phones. So with that being said, unfortunately, I would suggest living in a fishbowl, and as if everybody's looking at you, and doing the right thing, because those are the key things that we look at when doing the background. Because as far as the background's concerned, I consider that probably one of the most important jobs that I had as a criminal investigator, because I'm responsible not necessarily for a thumbs up or thumbs down of that person going to the academy. I don't have the final say, but I honestly I present the package to my superiors, and then they go off the information that I had collected. So I would just recommend that, just doing everything as if somebody is watching you at all times.
Okay, and what drives and motivates you to go to work every day, knowing you could be facing a dangerous situation at any moment?
The biggest thing for me is the victims. I don't tell everybody, but I've said it in the past. You know, I get paid by the Commonwealth, but I work for my victims. Again, they rely on me for the best outcomes. I tell everybody, my victims, and I might have a person of interest or I might have a suspect. But at the end of the day, I have to sleep at night too, hoping that I make the correct decision based upon the information and the facts that gathered throughout the investigation. So with that being said, I think there's always you're always cautious in the back of your mind whenever going to an incident, because it's always changing, it's fluid, and you really don't know what's happening until you get to that scene. The biggest, I think, most dangerous part of our job is the patrol troopers who are working the road, because you don't know who's in that vehicle when you make that traffic stop, and unfortunately your backup might be 10, 15 minutes away, because that's just the manpower that we have at that time. So you do your best to prepare for the situation and hope for the best outcome, but ultimately it's your responsibility, and you take a duty to uphold our values as Pennsylvania State Troopers, and the members of the Commonwealth expect that of you. So it's in the back of your mind, but it's kind of the situation dictates.
Okay. And lastly, right out of high school, you did enter into the armed forces. And how did your time and experience there help prepare you to be a state trooper?
So I decided to enter the armed services in 11th grade, and I joined the Marine Corps back in 1995, and I was in Parris Island in 1995 on July 4th. And I would say that it was a life-changing experience. It helps you grow up because you're now removed from the support of the family that you had once had and the home that you had always come. It was an eye-opening experience, but the biggest thing that I had learned was rank structure and putting the team above yourself. You have to really look at the forest beyond the trees and remove yourself, even though you're not in the best position at that time, but it's the mission that's the most important. And honestly, I remember a corporal in my first unit talking to me, and he had said, integrity is doing what is right even when nobody is watching. And I still live by that today. And obvious in today's generation, there's so many things out there recording that you just have to be wary of what you're doing.
Great, thank you. And Christine Gregg, you serve as a constituent outreach specialist for the Pennsylvania State Representative. When the representative is in Harrisburg, you represent him in the district. Can you tell us what your job entails and some of the duties that you perform?
Certainly, Sheila. My job basically is we know a little bit about a lot of different things in a lot of areas. And the biggest thing is when a constituent comes to our office with a concern or a problem, we have to know where to go to get answers to help them the best. Sometimes it takes a lot of research, and sometimes, through experience, we know where to go. But the biggest thing probably overall is learning to communicate with the people. Sometimes they come in, we're the last place they know they go to look for help. And we have to be able to cut through and get to the basis of the problem, of the issue, and help them work through that.
Great. And what are some type of skills that are required for you to fulfill your duties?
Probably foremost is the communication skills. We do need to know how to lower a temper when someone comes in and they're upset because things aren't going their way. That is vitally important. But we have to be able to perform research. We do a lot of research trying to help people, a lot of phone communication with different departments within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and then just processing the paperwork, which then that in itself sometimes is quite tedious, but that's the gist of it.
Okay, great. And throughout your time working for your current boss, which is Representative Park Wentley, or some other previous employees, and what has been the most memorable experience you have working for the Commonwealth?
Probably a number of years ago, we had a secretary of DCNR to the district, and we were traveling from park to park, talking with the secretary, showing the secretary different areas of the parks that need some funding sources to make improvements that will best be suitable for the constituents. And traveling from one part to another, we actually had a farmer, an Amish farmer, who had some cattle on the road. So being a farm girl, it wasn't a big deal for me, but we stopped the vehicles, and we had several vehicles, and with the secretary and her staff, and then our staff. And we stopped the vehicles, and we got out and helped chase those cattle back into the pasture. And it was kind of comical because we all were in, like, not necessarily the most comfortable shoes you would wear to chase cattle around a farm, but and we were in dresses and things, so it was kind of comical. But you know, when it comes down to it, it's all about helping the constituent and doing what's best for the constituent. And we didn't want to take a chance that that cattle might be on the road and someone come flying down the road and have an accident, and then they'd have to call Sean, of course. But so that was kind of a fun experience, and a picture in my mind that it really comes down to helping the constituents. So
great, thank you. And Janet Anderson, your career has taken you into a very different, interesting pathway, right? You have worked in accounting, you've worked for a governor, you've worked for a PA senator, you've even ran for office at one point. Right now, you're currently working as the executive director for a public workforce system. So we really want to get intel from you so the students can understand what type of jobs are out there, what employers are looking for within the students, what type of training, funding, and opportunities that students may have within the workforce.
Sure. So right now, there are plenty of opportunities for students to take advantage of. And all of our employers are, in every realm, are looking for employees. We at the Workforce Development Board and the Pennsylvania Career Link, which is how most of you will know us, are looking for employees. State government is looking for employees. So there are plenty of opportunities for all of you. But what skills do you need to actually enter into these positions? You've heard today, integrity, communication, those are all extremely important skills that you bring. But take advantage right now while you're in school of what's in front of you, what's being provided. Your basic skills like math and reading, speech, writing, those are all really incredibly important for you to do your best so that you are prepared for the careers that are out there ahead of you. Whether it's state government, federal government, in an office, in a medical setting, those are all things that our local employers are looking for. Another skill that I sort of made up, but I think is really incredibly important for all of you, is the you skill. And what is the you skill? The you skill is knowing about yourself. It's really important to understand what you are passionate about. So you may like math. What opportunities exist if you are a student enjoying math? You could become an accountant. You could become a financial planner. You could become an engineer. You could become an architect. You might go in to Erie Insurance and be an actuary. There are many, many opportunities, and they all look very different in their day-to-day operation. So it's important for you to understand what you like so that you can choose one of those paths early on. How do you decide that? Well, the schools offer you plenty of opportunities, Please take advantage of those. You have Career Street available where you can do job shadowing, you can find mentors, you can do tours, you can do in-person tours as well as virtual. So if you can't get there, that's not an excuse. There are many ways for you to explore and examine those opportunities. And the final thing for you is networking. It's really important to reach out to individuals and find out what they think your strengths are. And sometimes that's not your parents. Sometimes that is your teacher, your coach, and your pastor, for example. They will tell you where you might be successful. And don't think that the only way to get there is through a 4-year degree. We heard today that some of those opportunities exist once you conclude other pathways, like through the military. Many of our local employers, because there is such a demand for job seekers, are willing to train you. Take advantage of that.
And Janet, real quick, if I was a graduating senior and I decided I wanted to go out into the workforce, what would be my first step to look for a job?
The first thing is putting together your resume. And again, knowing who you are will help you with that. And if you've done the things that I mentioned previously, you will have a resume that looks very impressive to an employer. So identify the places you want to go. Where do you want to look? Do you know people? Use that networking that are in those locations that you could reach out to. Develop your resume and hone your interviewing skills so that you are able to speak confidently about your abilities to the employer. And if you need help with any of those things, you can go to your guidance counselors, you can come to the Pennsylvania Career Link, we're here to help, or any of the individuals that I mentioned earlier in your as mentors or network.
Okay, great. And the next question we're going to ask to all 4 of the panelists, and we're going to share some time in answering this. The question is, you took on your respective roles with a certain amount of preparation and awareness about what you were getting yourself into. What is something that you had to face that you didn't expect, and what best prepared you to handle that? Ms. Raymond, would you like to go first?
Certainly. So, really from the standpoint, I've always been in the caregiving facilities. So, you just have so many different opportunities, some good and some bad, that come after you. I would just encourage everybody to look at the various items that are out there. Some of the challenges that we've faced as the employer is most definitely having that strong, robust job seeker coming out at us to help in the various areas that we take care of in the healthcare industry. So that right now, that is most definitely the biggest challenge, something that our students here can help us with.
Trooper Pierce?
I think the biggest thing that was a surprise to me is the brotherhood of the troopers. I came from the military, then I went into the civilian world, and that was my coworkers. But coming with the state police, as I had said previously, that you really rely on those individuals that you work with. It's a team effort, and you're hoping at the end of the day they're putting their little piece of the puzzle to complete that case. I will say that there has been experiences, obviously through the investigations that I have had, that I would say that I would never thought I would ever see something like that in my entire life. But you are forced into that situation, and you are required to act accordingly. And I think the biggest part of that is try to shake it off when you go home at night.
Okay. Christine?
Probably understanding the broadness of state government was the most surprising. State government, there's so many different areas of understanding that you need to have for the position, And we really, to be able to do our best in helping and serving the constituents, you really need to understand what area, what department to go to get the answers you need. And so that probably was the most surprising.
Janet Anderson?
So for me, some of the surprise came from people around me, sort of the brotherhood that we just talked about. Although I'll call it sisterhood, but people reaching out that really wanted to help me in my career, that saw things in me that I didn't see, that were interested in my best outcome. So I'll give you a quick example. When I was 24 years old, my boss approached me and said, you should go into international consulting. You're really good with the employers. You really connect with them. Talking to them about the benefits of that really would help us and would help you. And my answer to that at the time was no. And so I eventually relented, and I did that. And I have traveled the world as a result of that decision that he saw in me that I did not see. The same happened when I ran for state senate. I was asked 3 times, and on all 3 occasions said no. That is not something that I've ever aspired to do. I'm not really good at that. And they saw something in me that I didn't see. And I ran, and I have to say it was probably the most surprising success, even though I lost, in my entire career. I learned more about myself, more about my community, and more about the people of my community than I could have learned in any other career that I could have chosen.
Okay, great. And the next question, when you look back on your life, what advice will you have for students if they were interested in running for office, working for government, or volunteering in their communities?
So what I would say, looking back, what I wish I would have really joined the Commonwealth sooner than I had. It's a wonderful industry to work for. Looking back, probably some of the biggest challenges, was again, I didn't take advantage of that guidance that Janet was talking about. I kind of tried to do everything on my own, and probably one of the things I would suggest is most definitely looking at your options that you have out there. A lot of people think that you just have to go to that 4-year degree. A lot of people think, that you only have one path. You have very, very, very wide ranges of opportunities. Use your resources. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I wish that I would have done differently. I felt like I had to do everything on my own, and as a young 18-year-old female, it was a little bit different back then. So I really wish that I would have used the resources that I have.
Trooper Pierce?
I think the biggest thing for me is, and I wish I would listen to myself, is don't be afraid to fail. I never went for anything that I didn't think that I would probably get, just based on my experience and the position that I was going for. Having 3 children myself, and I hope I've conveyed this to them, but once you fail at something, and I don't even want to consider it failing, I would say that you probably just you didn't meet your expectations. You learn a lot more by doing that, which helps you grow more rather than put yourself in a position to always succeed. So I think through the Pennsylvania State Police, there's various jobs that you can hold. Patrol trooper, you can be in crime unit. They have forensics units, latent prints, undercover work. But those are all positions after you become a patrol trooper that you have to apply for internally and take a written test and also be interviewed for. And I was always afraid if I seen somebody who I thought was a little bit more experienced, had a little bit more time on, to go for that position. But it worked out for me. I was a 5-year patrol trooper, and there were several people that were testing for a spot in the criminal investigation unit. And I said, well, if I don't get the position, at least I'm going to get the experience of taking the test and going in front of a interview panel. So I guess that's my only advice. Just go out there, be yourself, and put yourself in a position that you might not necessarily always succeed. You'll learn more from that.
Great. Christine?
Yes, I would say my best piece of advice would be to have a diverse understanding of the community and even the people within that community. As a state representative office, we represent people that live within the cities. We also represent people who live in the rural community. And understanding that you as a 20-year-old don't have the same understanding of, for example, technology as a senior citizen. They just are baffled by it, and when they get a letter in the mail saying, you know, you need to go on the computer and do this, well, some of them don't have computers, and so they don't know what to do, and they're upset and frustrated, and so having that understanding that that's where they're coming from helps me to be able to serve them better. And basically what it comes down to is we serve the people, and having that knowledge of that and understanding helps the position.
And Janet?
So I would say to all of you, if you have an interest in running for office, make sure that you are taking risks, positioning yourself well. Don't be afraid to fail. It's the hardest thing I can say from my own experience, but don't be afraid to fail, and then just do it. Listen to your mentors. They will guide you. They will help you, because the reward at the end of that, if you're interested, is far greater than winning or losing.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'd like to thank the panelists for all their time and the comments that they shared with the students today. I hope that the students walk away with a better understanding of what state government can do for you and potential opportunities for them to work within state government. Thank you.